Welcome, Meatsmiths. You're listening to a Meatsmith harvest
Restoring husbandry to prosperity.
by means of the traditions of our fathers. This Farmstead Meatsmith production is made possible by you. If you like it, please consider supporting our team by going to patreon.com/Meatsmith and donating at a level you'd enjoy giving at. Your gift helps us increase the quality and quantity of all our free media education. Thank you, and happy harvesting. Hello, Meatsmiths. It's Lauren here, and there's Brandon. We just completed an interview yesterday of an incredible gentleman, and that's what this episode is going to be. But I needed to tell you, of course, some of the updates before we give you that interview. So that's why I'm sitting down right now. I wanted to sit down with Brandon, but he's in the crunch time mode. So he's got a lot of projects to complete right now. So I'll make this quick. First of all, we've got a little baby here. Her name is Dominica Immaculata Josefa. And it's been incredible. And in a lot of ways, having her has really anchored us here even more. It's also been a wonderful spring for us in a lot of ways. We've completed our butcher shop, which you can also see in the background. We're in our new office here, and just a lot of growth, a lot of abundance. Had the baby, had our first set of classes here in Oklahoma, our first pig classes. So just a lot is happening, and we're so grateful. And we really feel, in a lot of ways, just settled here. I wanted to make sure right off the bat that you know we've sold out already for 2022 our pig classes, our family pig classes. So we're having another set of lamb classes. We haven't done lamb classes in 5 years. So this is a big deal. We've just got the lambs on the grass. The grass is growing rapid fire right now. And so lamb classes are going to be in November of this year. If you didn't get a chance to sign up for the family pig class, please consider the lamb class. It's a 3-day full harvest. We're doing sausage at the end of the day, the end of the weekend. It's a wonderful event. It's all online. Everything that you can see what we're including in the class. It's almost like a family pig class, but with lambs. A lot of the same food we'll be eating, meat pies and blood sausage, and you'll learn how to skin the lamb on slaughter day. We're limiting it to 8 people, and there'll be 4 lambs, so 2 people per lamb. It's going to be an incredible event. Hi.
Oh, hi.
Do you have anything to say about the lamb class that we're hosting in November?
You should all come to the lamb class.
Mm-hmm.
I'm acquiring the ram lambs right now, and we're having to do that because I don't have my own lamb stock yet. We have the beginnings of it. We have a ram and 2 ewes that we want to replicate all over the property. But they're young, and they probably won't lamb until this winter. So for us to have a winter class, we've been acquiring ram lambs in the area, and it'll be great. It'll be the family lamb. It'll be doing it in the backyard on the home scale, but very expertly, and primarily in the way we skin and in the way we kill. A lot of that is not done well, even on the professional scale. It's kind of messy. And because it's messy, it's inefficient. And there's just a few seams that you have to learn to find when you're skinning a lamb that enhance the beauty of the carcass and the yield of the carcass, and because you're working with the physiology of the animal, the efficiency of the harvest. It really enhances that and makes things go quicker and more smoothly. And it will actually translate to venison, elk, goat, all these hided animals.
Yeah, there's a lot of hunters that come to the class.
I mean, it technically applies to beef, but the only reason it doesn't is because a beef hide weighs 200 pounds. So it requires a different physical manipulation. You're being blocked by the mic.
Yeah.
Mika.
There's not enough space on the screen for her.
Yeah, so do join us. It will be wonderful. We will make lots of food from the offal because lamb offal is delicious. Lamb kidneys are especially special in the animal kingdom for their mildness, really, and their bite size shape is very endearing. And then we will do we'll do tartare, but we're gonna make real tartare. We're going to shave the meat for real tartare. And we'll cure some phenolore, which is a preserved back leg of a sheep until the apocalypse. Or you eat it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be great.
Yeah. So that'll be at the end of November. We've got it on the calendar. It's on the website even. If you go on our website, farmsteadmeatsmith.com, up to the education tab, and then you'll see upcoming classes. It's right there. So there's 8 spots available, and we'd love to see you there. So Brandon himself has been on a number of interviews over the last few months, and I just wanted to make sure you knew about them. So he was recently on the Justin Rhodes podcast, and I was having a hard time finding it because I don't think it's on YouTube. It's on Apple iTunes, though. It's purely audio. So at least I think maybe the visual is on his private membership stuff. Anyway, it's a really good interview. You guys, it was in depth. I mean, he kind of went deep, and it was a pretty good length of time. So, so check out that. I think it was released in February. And then there's the homesteading family, which you just got done. We spent a whole week with them, filming you.
The Thomases.
Yes.
Josh and Carolyn.
That's right. That the homesteading family, they're on YouTube. They have their own educational program, and they're getting ready to release another project, which we're really excited to be a part of. And so, I think we'll talk more about that at another time. But in the meantime, while Josh was here, you recorded a pantry chat with him. And it was like a half-hour long, just real brass tacks. How do you cure bacon? It was a great, more mechanical kind of interview. But that was really fun to be a part of their project.
Yeah, and you can actually talk about how to cure bacon and ham and prosciutto in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
The hardest thing to convince people of is not how to cure bacon well or how to remember all the recipes, but to believe me when I tell them how simple it is.
Yeah.
And that's we did. We spent 3 days filming how to do all those things, but then in 30 minutes you can relay the entire narrative.
Yeah.
For how to cure pig flesh.
Yeah. So that's at the Homesteading Family YouTube channel. And the other one was with Brian Holdsworth, who is a Catholic. He talks about all kinds of stuff, more philosophical, I would say, and cultural analysis type stuff. But you kind of went into a lot of things, homesteading stuff.
Catholic homesteading.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the title of it. So a lot of it was kind of the why Catholic homesteading, a little bit about your conversion. You guys covered a lot of ground. It was 2 hours long, though. So
wow. Yeah, it was easy to talk to him.
Yeah, it was a really good interview. I learned a little bit about you, too.
Oh.
It was wonderful. You wore your heart on your sleeve, I have to say. So, so those 3 interviews are out there. Brian Holdsworth YouTube channel is the name of it. So, and then I just wanted to mention we're trying our best to actually incorporate interviews onto our podcast as well. But his name is Ross McKnight of Backyard Foie Gras. And we've connected with him through Instagram, or you have. And there's just a lot we have in common, and it was really fun to connect with him. In fact, I kind of think maybe our next recording that we can actually sit down together for a length of time, we should kind of debrief about the interview.
Yeah.
There was so many things that jogged my own thoughts. And I mean, you guys talked about beauty and suffering and just all the deep stuff. So,
well, and the unqualified uniqueness of being a family farm that sustains itself on the production of fat ducks, specifically their livers, in the United States of America on a small scale. This is unprecedented.
It's unique, yeah.
In the country's history, as far as I know. There's a couple of larger producers, but it's really awesome. And I get out of him, I extract from him the priceless knowledge that he has gained through trial and error and suffering and virtue of precisely how to efficiently and excellently fatten the liver of a duck. And so it's all detailed in this interview, such that it's extra possible to do it in your backyard, which is the native habitat of foie gras. That's where it originated from, and that's where it should return. And he lays out how to do it.
yeah, it's an archived kind. It's the episode is an archive in and of itself because he's learning French. He's acquiring knowledge that may not exist in the English-speaking world.
Right, yeah.
If you consider not only the language barrier, but also the fact that traditional things in general are disappearing right and left.
Yeah.
So enjoy that. And I hope we get to record again in the next month, but you're being whisked off to California, and
We'll try.
we've got some guests coming, and so anyway, we keep name dropping Father Vincent McNabb. This is what we were going to talk about, the church and the land, Father Vincent McNabb. If you get a chance, get that book and start reading it. We're going to talk about that whenever we can sit down next. But
Yeah.
anyway, enjoy the episode and the interview, and God bless everyone.
Sacrifice your sanity to the quality of your product. You don't even know, or at least for me, don't even know how I'm doing it in the moment. I'm losing my mind, sapping all of my energy, and it's gone. And the bacon looks amazing, but I'm dead for 2 days. Like after it's just not sustainable.
Well, you know, what's funny is I've seen your videos and I've listened to your podcast and stuff, and now I'm finally talking to you. So don't worry. Like, I know you're insane. It's okay. I'm still here.
Yeah.
Probably
So,
because
I
I'm crazy.
Yeah, exactly. You understand. You relate. So I think we'll just start with asking you a little bit just the who you are, just so you can introduce yourself and what you do and where you are. And then I feel like there'll be maybe a practical element to this. I would love to hear about foie gras on the domestic scale in the backyard, like you guys are doing it, and even like the possibility of people doing it themselves and why they might even do that. And, you know, there's no reason to hold back on philosophy or theology or any of that. So maybe people should be doing it in their backyard, you know. And then I know Lauren will have a bunch of questions too. And there's really no boundaries to where we go. And I was going to ask you about the PMA too, if you want to talk about that. I think that would be great. I would love to hear that because that's such a cool structure. Yeah, and then we'll just see where it goes. Does that sound good to you?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds great. It's nice to talk to y'all, by the way. Thanks for chatting with me this Friday morning.
Yeah, it is our pleasure. Yeah, and this is the first time we've dared a couple times to try to do interviews on our podcast, and it just always falls through. So hopefully this will be the first successful.
To talk with y'all and get to know you a little bit more. So thanks for taking this and having me. And Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
it is our
Yes.
pleasure.
Yeah.
So I guess I should answer your question. So, who am I?
It's
Ooh,
recording right now.
Oh,
terrifying.
good. Okay, so
Yeah.
we're recording right now.
We're recording. Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Do you want to do an intro thing for the
No, that was,
Okay.
I think you just did it.
Oh, that was it. Okay, awesome.
I was, but that works.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
We just told the people what we are going to tell them.
Okay, excellent.
And now we're going to tell them. So
Cool.
that's 101 public speaking.
All right. So we have Mr. Ross McKnight, and he is at Backwater Foie Gras, one small scale foie gras farmers in the United States, or maybe one of two. I don't know. Very few of you out there. And we wanted to bring him on to hear about foie gras on a domestic and human scale, and the why and wherefore of fattening palmipeds. And because I have always imagined that it's something kind of like milking a cow or shearing a sheep. It's just kind of neglected. We don't think about fattening a duck. But I think I've always been suspicious that the best place for it is the family backyard. So Ross, I want to ask you just to introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do, and then we'll see where this goes.
Sounds great. Asking who a person is.
Mhm.
No easy question.
Simple question.
Okay, we'll give it a simple answer. So, first of all, my name is Ross McKnight, which I know sounds very Irish, and for whatever reason it is, but this is Southeast Louisiana. So, I've got a good friend of mine down the bayou. We were talking about this the other day, how his last name's Robichaux, which is like one of the most typical names possible for Southeast Louisiana, but he's like just as much of a mutt as I am as far as the peoples who came together to make this place what it is. So we're both like French, German, Irish, a little bit of English, that whole Southeast Louisiana mix. I was like, what right do you have? What right do you have to take all the glory with the name Robichaux? But so I'm a first generation farmer, obviously first generation foie gras farmer. But my family has a long history with meat and with France, which might be apparent. But so this is a hat from the 70s here. But this is when my family first came over to New Orleans, the Fry family, so from Alsace. They were butchers, and eventually that developed into a meat packing business, which my uncle was the last president of when it had a plant in Lafayette and in New Orleans. And one of my cousins has taken the brand, and now he has basically a barbecue joint in the city called Fry Smoked Meats. And of course, I do the ducks. And there are a number of people still in the food business in some way, shape, or form. So my mother's family is from here. She grew up in Lafayette. We're continental French on that side rather than Cajun French. So my great-great-grandfather came over from southwestern France. I don't even know why, honestly, but he took a lot of pictures with really giant cypress trees, which we still have, which are really cool. Because you don't see those trees anymore. Like they look like redwoods. It's insane.
Wow.
So I grew up here, Southeast Louisiana. Only left really for college and a short stint in Houston, and then came back. I worked in finance for 4 years prior to this, which is kind of, I guess, part of the story how I got into it. But I have a beautiful wife, Dorothy, who is in the kitchen, and she is also a gaveur, and she has fattened ducks many a time and helps a lot with the farm, milks the cow, obviously. 4 kids, 1 on the way, so 5 kids. I don't know what else to say.
Congratulations.
I know.
That's wonderful. And so you had mentioned that you were an English major. Was that in Houston? Is that where you studied?
I studied in North Carolina at Belmont Abbey College, which is a small Benedictine liberal arts school. And yeah, beautiful place, neo-Gothic architecture, a minor basilica on the grounds, Mary Help of Christians. And
Wow.
beautiful, beautiful.
Did you say Benedictine?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, beautiful community of monks. The abbot's a wonderful man. He's come to visit us here a few times when they have their annual meeting of abbots, because there's a seminary just down the road, well, it's a seminary, but it's also a monastery down the road here in
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, so up in North Carolina. And then that was 4 years, got into rock climbing there, met Dorothy there. And then came back down, had my first job climbing around in attics, installing security systems. But things have changed quite a bit since then.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then so from studying English literature, you went into finance.
Yeah, actually, one of my professors.
That sounds rough.
Yeah, it's funny. Finance is not at all about math. So
no way.
One of my professors had told me, that he used to work for a financial firm, and they only hired English majors.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious to me.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Because at least we know how to communicate.
Tell us why. Oh, got it.
Yeah.
And the computers do the rest.
There you go. Yeah, you just outsource the math to the computers, and yeah, that's kind of been my suspicion about the financial world, because the more that I drill down into it to actually objectively to understand what it is and what it does, I find it unintelligible. And I think
It's just
that's
gambling.
because it kind of is. Yes, it's actually just gambling. There's actually nothing, there's no mathematical principle that I'm missing. It is actually reckless. It's just gambling.
I agree.
So I could see how, someone with an English background could actually be potent in a realm where things aren't as objective as math, might make it seem. It's very much an interpretive endeavor.
It is. I mean, there's
like buying a house.
Right. There's you can use calculations which are objective, and you can, but you have to describe this picture of what could be, because the outcomes are never exact. Like the outcome you're constantly projecting outcomes. It's not grounded in any sort of firm foundation in reality. And obviously that's part of why I no longer do that.
Yeah.
But
so then
I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? So like I was deep in it, and now I'm like, oh wow, I'm going to take all of my money out of the stock market. Because it's not, it's not just that it's not real. It's well, it is that, but it's the reason for that is not so much that it's like a major risk, which it can be, but because it is just totally abstracted from from justice, really, what you owe to your fellow man in your community and what he owes to you. It's just completely, it's honestly, I could be a little bit going in the opposite extreme here, but I think it's when I look at people, not look at people, but when I look at like a situation where someone might have like $2 million in a brokerage account, right? But like their kids are struggling or something, or who knows, like their neighbor, has got a hole in his roof, whatever. It's like, but that's my retirement. It's like, retirement is a myth.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, sorry, bit of a tangent.
No, but that's, yeah, I mean, I feel like when we started Farmstead Meatsmith, and I bet you will relate to this, it's sort of, and even starting any like basic service that provides a primary need, supplies a primary need, like for food, primary need, that you have this, what feels like this fantastical idea that you're going to do something and you're going to do a good job, and then people are going to pay you to do it. And it's this very direct exchange. And the value is in the wholesomeness and the virtue of the product in your work. And that's what it is, this very simple exchange. And so all of these other considerations that actually make businesses successful in our type of economy seem ancillary and divorced from that simple exchange of value. And that's why I find it so difficult to manage the whole online presence and everything, because it seems ancillary to that directness of the good, wholesome product. And even worse is in that notion of what speculation does to farming, where you have the purpose of the farm is not to produce food. It is actually subservient to multiplying legal tender, and that is the purpose of the farm. In the sense that this is, you can read about Father Fahey talks about this in detail, very simply. It's basic math stuff, but it's kind of new to me, and it makes a lot of sense. But that farmland today is bought and sold like a stock, and so the actual produce of the farm is not the point. That's not its final cause, to produce food for people. It is to be sold low and bought high. Like that's right. to keep up that constant cycle of changing hands and generating more legal tender. So you actually have the entire farming industry subject to producing monies rather than food.
It lives on a computer screen, a day trader or whatever. They're just sitting there watching values, and that's how they make their decisions. It has nothing to do with the integrity of a thing, or its essence. It's a number, and it performs that particular. Let's say they look at we're saying a piece of land. Obviously, it's going to be in some form of derivative or whatever. But they're looking at it as a sort of its own its own program, like almost like it's a software program, right? And how does that software program achieve the goals that I have? And do the graphs look right? And that it has nothing to do with anything, honestly. It's probably the worst possible way to spend your time, is just accumulating legal tender, which is fiat based anyway, on nothing. On zeros and ones, I got really good at staring at the ether and clicking buttons. That's what I did with my life. And then I deprived, who knows how many people of what they sort of had a metaphysical right to. So it's deeply frustrating. Why are you making me relive this?
I'm so sorry. I know. Well,
that's why we all got out of it.
We got to get that's like the conflict. We got to get the conflict, because the next part of the story, I feel like, is the insane decision, which is incredibly sane. It's actually the only sane thing to do in an insane environment, is to actually dare to produce a good thing and then sell it for what it is worth and support a family.
Hand in hand bear I, decked with bays and rosemary.
How many people do you know who are building their home culture around seasonal harvest and feasting? Or that are hunting as you are for self-sufficiency and back-to-the-land values? Or that share your artist's passion for human-scale meatcraft? At farmsteadmeatsmith.com, we've created a community of hundreds of omnivores from around the world with these shared goals, and 2 major places for them to learn from and inspire one another. First, we have our semi-annual hands-on educational event, The Family Pig, here at our Heartland homestead in Oklahoma. Come meet Brandon, get your elbows greasy, and over the course of 3 days, kill, cut, cure, and cook 2 pigs completely. You'll rub those greasy elbows with other meatsmiths from around the country, sharing meals and conversations to inspire you for years to come. Secondly, for more remote learning, over at farmsteadmeatsmith.com, we host a purely digital membership program with an archive of film and textual resources 5 years deep now. And both our on-site classes and online program include access to our most unique and rewarding private community Facebook page, Meatsmith Table, which is the only international network by and for homesteaders harvesting animals on a domestic scale using traditional and regional methods. We've been told that our classes are life-changing and the membership program unparalleled in quality and quantity. To get a taste of our education, search farmsteadmeatsmith.com and our YouTube channel for our free films, conversations, and downloads. Explore how we and other meatsmiths across the globe may best come alongside you and support you in building your home around the harvest. Please head to farmsteadmeatsmith.com today.
Yeah, so that, right, just that is crazy town. Nobody does that. You know, I think the closest we get to on a broad scale of people doing that would be like service providers, you know, tradesmen tend to do that more. But, you know, I've sold meat at the farmer's market, meat without compromise. Like we were doing our own slaughters. I sold it fresh. None of it was frozen. Top dollar, you know, and that was even in Seattle where there's lots of wealth. That was the act of selling that and making that work and getting the price that was just that enabled us to continue to produce it and support ourselves. That was pulling teeth. That was extraordinarily difficult. Just the act of selling it, which I think is just testament to, you know, how I feel like our economy is set against that. Yes. Because of what we just talked about. So how did you decide to actually take that on, to attempt to produce a really high quality product that no one in the country is used to purchasing, and to just do it and to grow it and do it very well and sell it for what it's worth and support yourself? So how did that happen to you? How did you decide to do that?
Well, let's be clear, that is still happening to me.
Yes.
I'm still figuring that out. And it is, you know, I guess, what are we in? We're in the 4th year.
Wow,
yeah,
that's great.
April 2019. I can't keep track of time. Is it the 4th year? I think we're in the 4th year.
In the 4th year, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
In the 3rd year? That's it. We're 2 English majors, yeah. Cool.
Just outside the 3rd year. Okay, so, well, it wasn't just me, right? So I had like 60%, isn't it some insane percentage now of individuals in this country who have autoimmune diseases, as opposed to like 3% in the 80s.
Yeah.
Which is definitely not the food, just throwing that out there. We're so I have what is called as ulcerative colitis, the sister disease to Crohn's. And I've had it since 13, or I was diagnosed at 13, or I was induced at 13, however you want to put it, and given pharmaceuticals. And that is a degenerative disease. So basically, I got to a point where I just wasn't functioning well. So I was really at the top of my game in the role of a financial advisor, and doing really well in my office, and getting all the awards and blah blah blah. But then I started getting really really ill, and my productivity kind of slacked off, and so people didn't care about me as much either, in that world. And I went and had a consultation with a surgeon, decided to go ahead with something that I thought was always going to be inevitable, which was to have a total colectomy and have my colon completely removed. So that happened for better or worse. There's so many factors that go into that, it's almost not like worth thinking about. But so colon removed, I had the ileostomy and everything, because that was stage 1 of, basically they Frankenstein you and put you back together. But so I went through that, but after the second surgery, we realized something wasn't right. And for almost an entire year, I was going back to see my surgeon for follow-ups and saying, like, I can't function. I'm in horrific pain. I can't do anything. And I think they just thought I was a junkie, or looked at me like I was a junkie. But it turned out I had an infected hematoma. And so I was I was slowly rotting. And like an old ewe that no one would slaughter, right? And so I had to go and get my surgeries revised up in Cleveland. And that surgeon was really good, but I wasn't able to work during all of this time. And it was during this time where, I had decided, but I knew as I was getting sicker before the surgeries, like, something's got to change. And, long nights away from my family, the hustle, all of that. So I just decided to start another hustle. So I have these friends from the Toulouse area, Mylis and Laurent. And Mylis and Laurent introduced us to foie gras really for the first time. And we just kind of fell in love with it. I did some research and found out how little was being done in the US, and realized, I was in a position where I could make a crazy decision because people might at least forgive me for it. And and so I had experience with poultry. We had done some minor, like, homestead level agriculture in our backyard. We had like 3/4 of an acre, So I decided on foie gras, and my niece didn't think I could do it because she's French, and the French always do things better than you. And they knew the right way to do things. And there's no possible way that you can actually be successful doing the things that they've been successful doing. A few years later, we've got a really nice foie gras product. Because I'm American, which means, like, oh yeah, like, you're giving me a challenge. It's gonna be what was that California wine, in the, I think it was that
the movie Bottle Shock?
Bottle Shock.
Is that the name of it?
Documented that.
So I'm planning to do that with foie gras, maybe 10 years from now. But
great.
So it's it's kind of a crazy scenario, but it's not an unfamiliar one. I've heard of other people in finance who've gone into farming because they just had a crisis. Like, I can't be this abstracted individual. And so through that whole health crisis, which was very, very difficult, I had a lot of support from and from my parents actually, my dad at one point did gavage for me when I had to go get the second revised surgery, and we planned, we're like, you know what, I'll just get right back into gavage after that surgery. And so Dorothy would actually, because I couldn't lift anything, would carry the corn to me in the pins and like move it when I needed it moved from one pin to the other, and while I was doing gavage. Because it was just like, this is happening, you know, we're not doing anything else, this is what we're going to do. And it was also a matter of beauty, which I know you understand. It's like if I die doing this, which I hope to, that then it was worth it, because giving something beautiful is really like ultimately that's it. This makes no sense, but I'm an irrational human being, so it's more important to me than being true or good. But, you know, it's all equal, but you know, the beauty is what's important. If I die doing something beautiful and giving that to you, you know, and then that's what makes my life worth something. So I think that's still where we're at, you know, when I finally sit down and talk to the shears about it and remember it. So, but that's how we got into it. Health crisis, and knowing that I had to do the thing that I felt called to do, and I had felt that call, you know, as weird and, you know, Nova Sordo as it sounds, for you can edit that out.
No, that's all right.
For like years, you know, I told my boss before I even started with that firm that I was going to start a farm in 3 years. It ended up being 4, but
really,
well, actually, it was
specifically a foie gras farm.
No, just a farm. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
A farm, yeah.
I just knew I wanted to do something, you know, natural farming related. So
yeah, that's so amazing. So you did. I totally relate to you mentioning beauty, because I don't know if it's like a accident of my personality. That's my primary motivation, like default motivation, is to create something beautiful. And you know, it's something that I don't have to stir up the motivation to do. You know, it's just like that. It's some part of my temperament, and so I really relate to that. Would you say that it could have been foie gras, or it could have been anything? It could have been something else that that would have motivated you and impelled you by its beauty, or was it like, it's got to be this, it's got to be the poultry, it's got to be the foie gras?
Well, it's the craziest thing in the world to be producing foie gras.
Yeah.
And I can only, you know, obviously everything's clear the longer that you wait. You know, the longer that you wait and watch and just do it. And you know, one thing that's very important to me is my country of birth, which is Louisiana, not the United States. And not the United States primarily Louisiana. And you know, a lot of our culture and heritage is sort of mostly exploited by carpetbagging wokies. People who are just like want to do the cool hip thing, and so, you know, they come and like live in New Orleans, right? And now they're New Orleanians, but they have, you know, they bring their horrific worldviews. I know. And it's that's kind of interesting, because they are usually the ones talking about, you know, cultural appropriation and how evil that is. And so they come here and they appropriate our culture, and it's interesting to see the parallel between that and sort of I call it the Anglo-American takeover of the administration of Louisiana, and, you know, the edict that removed our ability to speak French in the schools, and all of that. And it's like,
Hmm.
what's left of our culture is so sacred and important. And our French heritage, especially my own and my family honor.
Hmm.
So I see this as such a symbol, and it's sort of an honor just to be a servant of it, which is it's a symbol. You know, the French people look at it as a national symbol for them,
Hmm.
and I look at it as a symbol of sort of asserting once again, you know, who we are, where we came from, and also like it's sort of maybe it's kind of a declaration of at least, you know, my own petty rebellion, you know, my own little revolution, my
Yeah.
tiny little unbloody uprising in the Vendée.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, you know, I'll fight back, and I'll keep producing culture. You know, I'll keep working to maintain culture, and I'll try to pass that down through my family and try to give them something that's a legacy and inheritance that they can also make a living from.
Hmm.
And if not, at least someone. You know, I realized recently how important it is that I begin teaching people to produce foie gras, because it's just not done.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's almost like I don't, you know, it's obviously I can't do it at my family's expense, but it just needs to happen. It's not necessarily
Mm-hmm.
this vital like oral tradition, like it has to be done. You know, it must be done. It's so important that we not lose this.
Yeah.
Especially because the people who are fighting it have no idea of its value. Sorry, I'm like
I
petting
think
my.
that's telling of the times.
No.
No, it's beautiful, your story. And it's such a perfect encapsulation, I think, of um, it's the most revolutionary act these days to be traditional, to receive something and then to dare to pass it on as if it's worth passing on. And I think our generation in particular, I don't know how old you are, but I think we're probably pretty close in age. And it's
31, but y'all are a
we
bit old.
are starved.
Yeah, we're old, babe.
Are
We're
we?
almost 40.
Oh, come on. Are we within the same decade, maybe?
We are. Yeah, we're 38,
I don't know.
I think.
We're close.
But I think that we are still maybe reacting to the same older generation that didn't pass things down, because nothing was very passed down well enough to them. And so we're like, wait, but we want tradition. We're starved for it. And yeah, it's beautiful to hear the way that it's happened in your case.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, I
honestly,
feel like that was a lot of what Farmstead Meatsmith was trying to find traditions. Like,
Yep.
how do people do this?
Mm-hmm.
I want to receive this from someone from an earlier generation.
Yeah.
yeah, y'all have I mean, awakened all of this anew in me. So when I found that, just I guess discovering that you existed, it was like, oh my goodness, like there's like one person in the world maybe who understand. You know, I'm not. It was just like, again, it was like I'm not crazy. You know, like no, there's other people out there. That whole thing.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
but not only that, I think that y'all are definitely a it might be a subculture, but you're a subcultural emblem, and it's so important what you're doing. And you know, just the fact that I can listen to one of your podcasts and not feel that incredible weight, you know, for an hour or two, and
Mhm.
remember what I'm doing it for. And I think that can't be underestimated, the value of that. The camaraderie, as digital as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that there are many people out there that you're helping, you're giving, you're just sharing morale. Like, keep up the good work and keep, like, whatever it is, like, even if you feel like you're not talking to anyone, we're hearing you. And and
maybe that's why we do it together.
right. Yeah. that probably helps. But it's so important because I have people in my area. I get really excited when people tell me, I really wish I could get into farming, or I wanted to do X, Y, or Z, or even go to the extent where they're buying animals and stuff like that. And then I'm like, like, I really need somebody to run some ducks for me. Would you like to do that? Or I really need someone to raise some chickens for me. Who's interested? Who would like to do that? And all of a sudden, like, crickets. So it's I think we are much more of a minority even than we think, because there's sort of that, like Justin Rhodes and Sow the Land and those sorts of guys out there. There's a lot of people who are consuming the content, and they're really interested in it and they're intellectually stimulated by it, but for whatever reason they can't or they won't make the transition to making that their reality. And and yeah, because it's way harder than anybody thinks, as you know. I mean, who would want to be a farmer? That's stupid, honestly, from a financial point of view. I wouldn't ever recommend that if I were a financial advisor.
Yeah.
So thank you. And I mean it sincerely. It's vital. This is it's our crusade in a way. It's a mission. It's certainly a mission. It's not just trying to live a more natural, traditional life. It's by doing so, you actually make the statement that you're Catholic, whether you know that or not yet. Hopefully somebody catechizes you. But it's everyone who does it is Catholic in that way. So thank you for evangelizing.
Yeah, well, I that's very encouraging, and I don't know if what you're saying reminds me of Father Vincent McNabb. I don't know if you've read any of his stuff.
I can't read.
He's kind of involved in the Catholic. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, you're missing out. He has a chapter, the first chapter of one of his books, The Church and the Land. He just mentions exactly what you talked about, and he kind of takes the Exodus as the model, which I think is so interesting. And he has this line in there that he says is like the fruit of his life's contemplation. And it took him a while to get to this. He says, no people has ever left the town for the land or remained on the land when it could have gone to the town, except under the motive of religion. And you look at the story. Isn't that profound?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then think of the story of the Exodus in that light. Why did they leave, and why did they have to take they left the flesh pots of Egypt and they had to take all of their livestock? That was part of it. Pharaoh wanted them to leave their livestock, but God said, no, you have to bring all of them because I'm going to teach you liturgy out on the land. And so the primary motive for them was to go to the land where they could worship God rightly. And it sounds so simple, but that's something that we've kind of been coming back to, because there's so many motives to go to the land, right? I mean, just the lukewarmness, the materialism of the city. I mean, the maliciousness of the city even, and the fragility of the industrial system. You want to be more sustainable and not so subject to the powers that control all of the food and the crises. And so you go to the land to be sustainable. And I think all of that, those might be natural goods, but in the end, they are temporary, because if the city becomes enticing again, and you lack the virtue to resist the convenience that it promises, then you'll go back. Your children or your grandchildren will. And in the end, the anchor in the land is going to be the love of God. And that's what you see like all over Europe, right? And all over France. You've got the church in the middle, and everything organizes around it in concentric circles going out. So yeah, very Catholic, I think.
I'm going to read that book.
Too.
I'm trying to make it through Foie et Canard, which is taking me a while. And it's, I get through a couple pages at a time, because usually there's something to do, just before bed that I remember.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that sounds like something that I have to read. And I was hoping to get the Fahey book as well, after listening to your last podcast. But
yeah,
I definitely agree with those sentiments. It's I've even heard, I'm trying to remember, is it Restoring the Faith? There's some YouTube channel or podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one, maybe. There was a lot of gentlemen that they had
Mm-hmm.
on talking about, getting your hands in the earth in some way and how important it was. But there's this danger of it becoming over theoretical, and we're just, hey, there's Marius. He's definitely not theoretical.
Oh, you have a Marius?
Yeah, do you have a Marius?
No.
Someday, maybe.
We want one.
Yeah.
We've just always loved that name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got time.
Yeah.
Just, y'all don't have enough to do, so keep busy.
Okay. It's our duty.
Interpret no, never mind. Right, yeah, it can become hyper theoretical. I see that it happens with a lot of movements, I think. I think it's happening somewhat to this one as well, whatever you want to call it, like the Back to the Land movement, or regenerative ag movement, or whatever. In Catholic circles, definitely becoming like kind of hyper theoretical when people talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
These great ideas, and it's like, well, farming is like the hardest thing you will ever do, and you will probably almost lose your faith doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where you're going to, because you stand to gain so much, you also stand to lose a lot. And so doing it is the only way to learn that, and to truly be changed as a person. I'm still undergoing that, and it's been like one of the most painful spiritual battles I think I've been through. Farming has been, definitely, because of just conquering myself, and killing my less virtuous desires, and killing my desire, just like, or just merely the idea that I deserve leisure, or deserve to take a break, or whatever. Or to go to bed at a certain time, or to wake up at a certain time. Just killing those things taken a lot, and I'm not at one yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if you experience similar, but gavage especially is like monastic. You're like, it has to happen, and you might be dead tired and just have spent all day slaughtering birds, but you have to go and you have to feed those ducks, and it might be 10 p.m.
Yeah.
I've been in there at past midnight. It just has to be done, and so the only way that you're going to get through that is probably with the rosary.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
great.
wonderful.
We're a podcast.
Yeah, a Hail Mary. That's so good. And that's amazing to hear that process of mortification is a greater spiritual struggle than even your illness was, than even the immense physical suffering. Would you say that? Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think they're inextricable now because they're so
Yeah.
intertwined. So, you know, arthritis becomes sort of like most people with what I have develop arthritis, and then the next thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing. And you might be familiar. I don't know if you have autoimmune disease in your family. You probably do, given the statistics. But it's just kind of they stack on top of each other. So especially with gavage, arthritis is really a challenge.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're kind of married at this point. It's just
That's part of it. Yeah.
it's part of it, and it's like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna produce foie gras with arthritis.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have similar determination. Like, if your left arm got chopped off, I can imagine you would like get a hook on there. Maybe all the better, you know?
No, it's so funny. Yeah. It's dark and funny because that's the thing that you run up to in farming are hard obligations, hard, objective, unavoidable things that must happen, just like you're saying with gavage. And it's the same way, like whenever I still feel that whenever I kill an animal, you know, especially for someone else, it's this immense weight. Like that is, the kill is the beginning of all the things that you have to do, regardless of how many animal. And you know this from killing the poultry. Like you can't, when you do a cow or a pig, no matter what happens between the shot or after the shot to you in life, you must continue to process that animal, regardless. Everything breaks. You are ill, you know, flash flooding. You have, you know, your wife has a baby. Like you must keep going through that animal. You can't just stop and like put it all on hold. And I'm going to take a quick break. And I feel like there is built in to the farming life this mortification because there are real obligations. And it's almost like the urban experiment is a great effort to remove those and to soften those so that you can actually begin to conceive of yourself as being unattached and not having all of these obligations because they're all buffered by reckless convenience that is so destructive. And I think it makes us vicious because we don't have those built-in opportunities for mortification, for killing our base desires for ease and comfort.
Thank you again, Meatsmiths, for listening to this podcast and our take on all things meat making, householding, and culture keeping. We hope it's helped you grow your home around the harvest.
This conversation will be continued in a forthcoming Part 2 episode. Thanks for listening, and peace be with you.